Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing a review for the Vampire Diaries Season 5, the 100th episode. So usually I don't do reviews for the Vampire Diaries, but I was planning all day, should I do a review for the 100th episode? And in the end, there's a lot to talk about, so I was like, alright, let me do a review. So the comic book reviews will be out a couple hours from now, still like 4 more to read, and then I'll record everything, but it will be out today also, so also want to have this video. So let's talk about this episode. We get to see memories in this episode. Catherine's dying. She's looking back at her life. And we get to see the humanity in Catherine. And everyone's, feeling bad, but also not feeling bad that Catherine's dying. Other people return in this episode. We get Tyler randomly in this episode. It's like, hey, I'm back. The best return, obviously, was Klaus and Caroline. No, Caroline does admit her feelings to Klaus, which I'll get into. And that's pretty much it that happens. Oh, yeah, the ending. We get to see that Catherine's like, yes, I'm going to pass away. And she almost does pass away. And then Elena's like, I do forgive you for everything you did. And Catherine's like, cool. Let me just take over your body. And now Elena is going to try to be dead, at least from Catherine. Catherine's going to try to kill Elena. And she took over the young body of Elena, so her own body technically, because they're doppelgangers. And that's it. I'm going to just say that I have been kind of frustrated with this season. And not character-wise, I would say a lot of plot point-wise. Stefan being a doppelganger. Pissed number 1. I was like, at the end of season 4, I'm like, I don't really like that story. Still pissed by that. Damon breaking up with Elena for no reason. Still pissed at that. Even though I'm not a Elena fan. I'm just, story-wise, it didn't really make sense. Pushing away a lot of the supporting characters, like Caroline, Bonnie, and Jeremy, not making them do much. They're still there, but they don't really have a big plot point. Making Caroline a little bit of a bitch in this season, which I did not like, because Caroline's my favorite character. Yeah, that's kind of what I've been pissed with this season, and yeah, there's been a couple of good stories, and honestly, the redeemable story in this season was Catherine. I liked the humanity we saw in the character. I liked how much she grew. She is sassy. There's a lot of good points with Catherine, and those are actually my favorite parts of the season. Like, I did Rin reviews on Frontline, and every part, like, I'd be like, oh, the Damon story didn't quite make sense here with the whole Augustine vampire. That could have been fleshed out a little bit more. There could have been more shockers there. But every single time I went back and said Catherine's story was always pretty good this season. I've never been a humongous Catherine fan, but I've liked the character showing up every once in a while, and I love how smart the Vampire Diaries was, because they've only brought Catherine every once in a while. And now seeing this season, she's been in every episode. But again, I like that we got to see really who this character was. And I thought this season, or this episode, would have been the perfect way to say, alright, bye Catherine, you started the series, now you're gone. And of course we get to see Catherine kind of screw everybody in the end, which is who Catherine is. But let's just get to the point. It's really confusing, because there's a lot of points in this episode I did enjoy, like the past stuff, Caroline, which I will get to, but there's stuff I just didn't like in the ending. It makes sense for Catherine's character to do this, but this episode could have been a really cool send-off for deconstructing Catherine's character. We really did that in this episode, showing, yeah, this bitch of a character is human. And all it took was her to become human to see that. And it's like, yeah, they screwed all these characters in the end, but there's something to really forgive her for. Maybe not care for her, but forgive her for. And that ending screwed that all up. Like, Catherine's gonna probably die in the end. She probably will, but this could have been the perfect send-off. I don't think we needed this whole Elena taking over body. I hate those type of stories, because they just get confusing. It's not really great tension throughout the episode. I'm not a big fan of body switching. And it wasn't really a shocker to me. It was just kind of annoying to me. So I wasn't in a thrill at any point in this episode, which was a shame. A lot of it is like, oh, that's cool, that's cute, but nothing that really got me sad or thrill. And that's what I like about the Vampire Diaries previously, that I always get choked up in a scene because I care for these characters. Seeing characters come back maybe made me choke up a little, but they didn't really do much to say, hey, this is cool. Alaric, cool seeing him back, but we've seen him back before. Vicky, cool. I wanted to see Aunt Jenna. We've never seen Aunt Jenna, and that disappointed me. John, seeing him back was cool. You know, making references to things that happened in the past seasons, but I thought this could have been more of a retrospective than it was in this episode. You know, 400th episode, yeah, we got characters back, but I felt like they could have done more with those characters. I still think the best retrospective episode was the Ghost World episode, and I think season 3. And I think season 2 and season 3 really are the best seasons and with the best episodes. Yeah, so Ghost World was still the best episode where we got to see people come back, and you would think Ghost World would be like 100th episode, and it wasn't. This was the 100th episode, and they really just showed their faces and not really gave us that emotion that we really wanted. And again, Aunt Jenna was in this episode, which I was upset because she's really the only character we haven't seen back, and there are rumors that she was going to be back. So there was no sadness over there. Now let's just get to the good parts. Really pure good part, only good part for me, was Klaus and Caroline. Finally, Caroline admitted her feelings to Klaus, which I'm a big Caroline shipper. So seeing that, I was very happy. They kissed finally. Very happy for that. But it's a little disappointing that Klaus is gonna leave again, go to the originals, and Caroline just gonna forget about Klaus. Like, it's cool for the fans to get their justice, like, alright, finally Caroline admitted her feelings, which I was cool with that, but I kind of wish Caroline went to the originals. I've been saying that since the originals were announced, and I haven't even seen every episode of the originals yet, because I haven't caught up with it, which I really have to. But I really want to see that character in the originals. I feel like she would have done justice to her character more in that show, even though she started in Vampire Diaries. I just feel like they could do more with her in the originals. That's just my opinion, but I like the ending. I did like the ending for their relationship. I like that she finally admitted it in her own Caroline way. Actually, I have to say there's a lot of great lines from Caroline this episode. You know, her forgetting to tell Elena all these things that happened when Elena was gone. When they were talking about Catherine, it's like, yeah, I was dead, but I guess that was a good thing that I died because I'm a better person that way. So there's a lot of great lines from Caroline in this episode. But yeah, I think the best parts were Klaus and Caroline. Bonnie and Jeremy were kind of pushed to the side again. They were mentioned a little, but for our 100th episode, I think everyone should have shined. And just like the Vampire Diaries has been doing, they have been pushing their secondary characters aside. I feel like they should have their own story arcs. A perfect example, I can't believe, you know, this was last year, I wouldn't even mention this show, but Arrow, they do a really good job at balancing their secondary characters, and Vampire Diaries, they've already built their secondary characters, and they're strong secondary characters. So I'd like to see them do more, have more of a story arc, and really show that progression, especially with Caroline, because again, she has been a little bit on the bitchier side this season, which, yeah, Caroline is a bitch, but she's like on that silver lining type thing, and she's still a good friend, so it's kind of hard to see that. I would like to see more stories come from them and show in this 100th episode to have more story with them. The Tyler return was a little random to me. I don't know. I have really mixed feelings about this episode. Again, I didn't love the ending. If Catherine died, I would have felt better about this episode. I think this would have been a solider episode. Not the best episode I've ever seen in my life, but I think it would have been a solid episode if Catherine did die. But it's just going into another wacky story arc that I think with Season 5 of Vampire Diaries, they really should have went back to what Season 1 was all about. You know, these are kind of not normal people, but they go into all these supernatural story arcs. You know, bringing in that main villain, maybe that would help them. Because there is no true main villain. The whole Traveler story is kind of out there. I think they really need to decide, ground the story a little bit more for a supernatural show. They need to ground it a little bit more, because the show is mostly about the characters with supernatural elements, and they have to remember that. So yeah, I was a little disappointed, just maybe because I was hyped up so much for the 100th episode. But please tell me in the comments below what you guys thought. This is just my opinion. I still thought it was a good episode, just not as good as I wanted it to be. I'm probably going to give this 3 stars, so it's kind of a moderate episode, but hope you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and guys, don't forget to follow me on Twitter for Comic Uno and the Rant Situations, and don't forget to like my Facebook page, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.